Right then, hello there, good evening, good morning, good afternoon, whatever it is, wherever you are. My name is Paul, I'm also called Knickknack. I'm the brains behind Knickknack's Daily Teaser. I'm the brains behind a lot of film and TV behind a lot of film and TV reviews, and I'm recording this, believe it or not, this intro at 12:30 on Christmas Day 2025. If I manage to get this up on time, have a happy Christmas. If I don't manage to get this video up on the day, I hope it went well and you got lots of loot. Presents. Lots of presents. Not loot. Presents. At any rate, I can only hope it's been a good day for you as well as for me. Like I say, and moving on, I review movies, I write quizzes, and I talk about TV shows I've been watching. And over the past few weeks, over December, I've been watching The War Between the Land and Sea. Last Sunday the 21st, I managed to catch the last episode, The End of the War, and I wanted to tell you what I thought. It's taken me a while to write the script. It's been Christmas, what can I tell you? At any rate, this video is what I thought of The End of the War. Episode 5, The End of the War, opens with a recap and reminds us that Salt, Gugumabatha has fled capture and that Barclay, Russell Tovey, is distraught without her. The scene shifts to show us inhabitants of a small coastal village doing the things any of us would be doing at that time of an evening. Eating dinner, watching the news, walking the family dog. It's only then that we see what the villagers don't, as we see an Aquakine soldier surfacing and blowing a high-frequency horn and luring every single one of the village's dogs to the sea. We later see the negotiations between Sir Jonathan Hines and Tide, the humans and Aquakine ambassadors, and see that they're going badly, with both arguing the other side shouldn't be eating their pets. Meanwhile, in the unit control room, we see that the distressed Kate Lethbridge-Stewart, Gemma Redgrave, is having flashbacks of her late lover, Colonel Ibrahim. And we're then shown that Kate is now in the hands of a psychiatrist, Carolyn Stoltz, who is insistent Kate be signed off of her pressurized role, only for Kate to insist quite as equally and quite as forcibly on an increase in medication. Kate needs to get back to work, and Kate knows where the psychiatrist's daughter goes to school. Meanwhile, when Kate returns to the office, she finds that Barclay, Russell Tovey, is still having a fitness evaluation. What Kate and her medical team don't know is that Barclay is being securely held in a posh London hotel with a guard on the door who's part of Severance, with cameras in the suite, and with an expensive scanner so that he can make sure his dinner hasn't been poisoned. Kate doesn't know Barclay has found a way past these cameras, but does know this, that the Prime Minister is part of the Severance conspiracy, that negotiations between human and Aquakine are getting desperate, and that 5 years is too short a season. Now, I can imagine you asking me a few questions here. Paul, I can hear you asking, what did you make of The End of the War? I also hear you ask, what did you make of the 5-part series It's the Climax 2? You ain't scared of asking the big questions, are you? Let's explore that first one, though. What did I think of the episode? For a start, The War Between the Land and the Sea has a fantastic ensemble cast, and The End of the War sees them as on form as they have been throughout. Yes, Gugumabatha and Russell Tovey as Salt and Barclay were both touching, convincing, and sympathetic. Salt's concession speech at the end of the episode was a genuine tearjerker. It really was. Ruth Madeley as Mrs. Bingham is one of those minor... No, that is still the wrong choice of words there. Ruth Madeley as Mrs. Bingham, as Unit's recurring chief scientific advisor, may only have a few lines in this episode, but she's one of those characters who has a bigger impact than her on-screen dialogue would suggest. She's a pivot point for this episode. And I think she's replaced Colonel Ibrahim as the chief aide to the boss. She's effectively, in Star Trek terms, number one. She's the first officer, in other words. Talking of the boss, the real star of the show is Gemma Redgrave as unit leader Kate Lethbridge Stewart. All the way from the opening shots of this episode, blackmailing her psychiatrist, all the way to the scenes at the end, including the very silly post-title sequel, Miss Redgrave has done a very good job, an utterly superb job, and she makes this series very much worth watching. Yes, I also know that you're possibly going to say other things here. You're going to give me a meaningful look about some of Kate's behaviour. That behaviour in some of those things, blackmailing a mental health worker, is possibly a good example here, is arguably not necessarily what we could call ethical. But the impression I've picked up over the years is that many corporate chief executive officers, your Jeff Bezoses, your Tim Cooks, your Richard Bransons, can be utterly charming when they need to be. Utterly, utterly, utterly smooth as butter, especially if there's a camera crew around. They have a reputation for turning on the charm, but they also have reputations for being utterly savage in the boardroom. To be blunt, they've not built up the big corporations they've built up by being pleasant. Steve Jobs, I seem to recall, was able to turn on the charm, from what I'm told, but again, backstage, don't tick him off. So Gemma Redgrave's portrayal of the leader of a major international organisation, at least its British branch, Gemma Redgrave's performance showed us that Kate can be as polite, as kindly, as easygoing, as maternal, as caring as she possibly can be when it is needed. But she can be just as nasty as a successful corporate boss when she needs to be, happily committing blackmail, bribery, political extortion, all of that as and when needed. Gemma Redgrave has done very well in reminding us of this one simple thing, that just because you're the main good guy in a series, that doesn't mean your character is nice. With the cast out of the way, what about the plot? We can safely say that The End of the War lives up to its title and is exactly that. It's an end, for now, of the war between humanity and Aquakind. An end that comes as a win for humanity, but not necessarily a moral win, a moral or ethical victory. The code signal that Salt tells Barclay to send to Aquakind is sent too late and reaches its targets minutes after the Severance virus does. The virus made and launched by the conspiracy led by General Gunsberg, the virus that kills some 90% of Aquakind and leaves corpses floating in the waters of the world and leaves Salt having to make a heartbreaking concession. It's a concession that contains a hidden warning, a warning that implies those responsible for the virus will be punished when they're least expecting it. But even after that warning, Salt admits her people are terrified of humanity. This finale reminds us that humanity can do great things, but is also capable of outright, good old-fashioned genocide. That is possibly a little bit too much about the plot, when all I should have told you is simply this. The End of the War is, I think, a good finale to the war between the land and the sea. It is a finale that shows humanity winning its war against a formidable enemy, but winning a victory at the cost of its own morals. The Severance conspirators have won a war for humanity by effectively committing genocide, committing mass murder, when it could have waited and could have struck a peace deal and won that war at a far better, more ethical cost. As Kate puts it when talking to her team, congratulations, or shame on us all. I'm not sure which. That line is a very good summary of an episode that's complex, dark, ambiguous, and a very watchable finale. So, what can I tell you about the series? There is quite a lot I could possibly tell you there, but the bottom line is that The War Between the Land and the Sea was an engaging series, although one that does have some issues. The small one, right at the moment, is simply the fact that it's called The War Between the Land and the Sea. Something a little bit shorter would have been preferable. The big one, I mentioned how in episode 4, Kate tells us UNIT is above government and police. And I found that their potential, arguably extrajudicial execution of Colonel Ibrahim's killer to be problematic. UNIT is supposed to be the law-abiding British branch of an international organisation. And for something like that, they were, in this at least, acting more like a branch of Torchwood that's having one of its more maverick, loose cannon days. It works well in this series, I think, but it's possibly the wrong tone for this group to act like that one. They could possibly be a bit more distinct, I think. While we're on the subject of Torchwood, I have to confess still that I found the first 2 episodes of The War Between very reminiscent of Torchwood's 3rd series, the critically acclaimed Torchwood Children of Earth. The first 2 episodes in particular of The War Between, the ones that show us Salt acting as Aquakine's ambassador, it shows her in an environment tank similar to the one used by the 456 in Children of Earth. It's an environment tank built in a setting that is, again, familiar. It's supposed to be an office block on the River Thames. That's unsurprising. Russell T Davies was heavily involved in writing both series, after all, and the episodes are filmed, from what I gather, in most of the same physical locations. Am I saying that's a bad thing? Not necessarily. Yes, I would prefer the plot line of the series to spring freshly out of a writer's head every time he creates a series like this, but I am also aware that reusing elements, physical set elements, plot elements, with new twists if possible, I know it can help get a TV show written and produced snappily and rapidly, so I know why it's done. That's one thing. The other thing that got me comparing the 2 series was simply this. Both The War Between and Children of Earth are 5 episodes long. Now, with Children of Earth being shown over 5 consecutive nights, that helped it become riveting event TV. You knew it was on at a given time on a given channel. You tuned in to watch it. So when I heard that The War Between the Land and the Sea was another 5-episode miniseries, my thought was simply this: was the BBC going to show it in the same way? Will it be shown over 5 nights? As it turns out, it wasn't. BBC One showed the first 2 episodes on the 7th of December, it showed the next 2 on the 14th, and it showed this last episode, The End of the War, on the 21st. Why? I don't know. But I suspect showing The War Between in the same or over the same number of nights as Children of Earth wouldn't get the former the same amount of domestic views as the latter, nor necessarily would it generate the same word-of-mouth aftersales. After-sales, I hear you ask. Do you mean sales of physical copies, Paul? Streamed copies bought after original broadcast? That's what my imagination is telling me you're asking now. Yes, I mean exactly that kind of after sales, both purchased physical copies and ones rented or bought through streamed services like Disney Plus or the iPlayer or Amazon. I don't know if you're inside or outside the UK, but I am very aware that in the UK we can watch this series for free on the BBC's iPlayer service, and that internationally the show will be streamed by Disney Plus in January, some time after the original UK broadcast. I am no expert whatsoever, but I think that Disney Plus may have made a mistake in their timing there. I believe this will prompt a lot of international viewers to use VPNs, virtual private networks, to access the iPlayer from abroad, or they will outright download the videos from torrent tracking sites. Now, even given that Disney are no longer financially involved in the Universe's production, I think the Mouse House is going to lose subscriber money because of that. Or subscriber money, rental fees, whatever. It's going to lose money because of that. Now, I also think we have an issue with physical media. I watched the series in what's called 2K resolution, ye big by ye deep. And that's perfectly acceptable to me. But I'm also very aware that it was on the iPlayer in 4K, which would only work, from what I know, on a 4K set. And yes, I would have loved to have seen that. Some of the scenes of Aquakine's realm looked fantastic in 2K, and I'm assuming would look equally, if not more fantastic, in 4K. That's not why I'm talking about it. I float around Amazon on a regular basis, usually waiting for news of when the few bits I've ordered are going to turn up. Given that I window shop, I am very aware that physical copies of The War Between the Land and the Sea have been available for pre-order for some time, but only as 2K Blu-rays or DVD. Why? Especially when we know that Twice Upon a Time, Peter Capaldi's last story, is available on Amazon in multiple formats, including 4K Blu-ray. I don't know, but I suspect the terms of the Disney deal may be an issue there. They may have reserved 4K broadcasts or Blu-rays for their own distribution. I don't actually know for sure. Now, why make an issue either way of a physical media release, especially 4K? Yes, part of it is good old-fashioned resolution envy. Yes, I really want to see it in 4K. Celebrate. Can't afford it. But there is another point to this. The fact that some things aren't on streaming services. Yes, I know The War Between the Land and the Sea is on the iPlayer, but that's not international. Hopefully it will stay on the iPlayer and on Disney Plus for as long as possible. But given there's 3 classic Doctor Who stories, An Unearthly Child, Terror of the Zygon, and Seeds of Doom, that can't be shown on iPlayer, but can be sold on Blu-ray or DVD, my point is that access to physical media as an alternative to non-existent digital versions is an important part of the market. Whether it's the latest Universe release, whether it's a concert, whether it's an old-fashioned archive TV show that no one's ever heard of, I think in being offered in as many formats, physical and digital, as possible is important. So, finally, what did I make of both The End of the War and The War Between the Land and the Sea? Of a finale that had depth and complexity and moral ambiguity, and of a series that showed us sympathetic characters facing life-threatening situations. Yes, there are issues. Yes, I felt the series is trying to give us Torchwood rather than Unit. But in spite of all this, the concluding episode is a nicely done piece, and the series as a whole, very well done and very watchable, and has given us Gemma Redgrave being damn good at her job. All I can tell you at the end of this, go watch this series. Right, that is where I'm going to leave things for now after one hell of a lot of waffle. I will leave you with my thanks for watching this or reading the original version on my blog, Knickknacks Old Peculiar. And I will do one thing before I do go. I will tell you I'm planning to review the 5th series of Stranger Things at some point in the not too distant future, and review some more movies as well. Feel free to subscribe to Mr. Cuddy2977 here on YouTube. Feel free to follow my blog, Knickknacks Old Peculiar. If quizzes are your things rather than movie reviews or TV reviews, I've published the Daily Teaser quiz for many years, and I'm planning to release a few more of them as well as soon as I get the films made. Feel free to tip. Feel free to keep your eyes peeled. I hope your Christmas went well, and I will see you next time. Whatever else you do, remember one last thing. Be seeing you.